Shalom. Welcome to week 3 of our course. I'm speaking to you from my office at Gratz College here in Philadelphia, where I work in the doctoral program. I coordinate the executive doctoral program. But I did want to kind of frame this week's material for you. I have very much enjoyed meeting you online, reading your posts. They're articulate, well thought out, and well written. And it's really a joy and a pleasure to be your instructor this semester. I wanted to give you some context about what we're doing the last couple of weeks and this coming week in terms of the readings. You were all very passionate in picking which of the 4 curricular areas, transmission, product, process, or praxis, that you felt comfortable with or eschewed as being no way part of your lives. But like anything else, you have to have a bag of tools as an educator. You wouldn't want to go to a doctor who only had one treatment for every disease. Said, take 2 aspirins and see me and call me in the morning. You want to go to a doctor who has different treatments for different ailments and different ways of handling different of the body's needs. Well, it's the same in education. You have to have a wide repertoire of knowledgeable frameworks and skills and approaches to handle educational situations on all levels in different settings with different age learners. And so it's really not for the forced choice of last week of picking one of those 4 pieces was to get you to think through in more depth what each one was about. But in essence, you really need all of them in your bag of tricks, in your bag of tools, because they will merge and mingle. Sometimes you'll have transmission mixed with praxis, you'll have product mixed with process, and you'll see in the curricular models that we're going to be showing you later in the semester how these things really all come together. The same is true for the articles, the Ellis and the Engel article that you're reading for this week. The Ellis article is a wonderful encapsulation of the last century or so in American education, from the progressive movement by Dewey all the way to the more modern thinking of learner-centered education and everything in between. And it's important as a member of the profession that you understand some of the traditions that we have inherited and some of the approaches to education that have been tried already in this country and around the world. Dewey is iconic in terms of talking about experience in education and the need for children to learn by doing, and not just by hearing or pouring facts into an empty head. The movement towards open education, which came out of the progressive movement, lasted for a while. They knocked down the walls in schools. They thought that a big open environment where lots was going on, and you had learning centers and work centers and free movement. But for many kids, it was just too cacophonous. It was impossible to concentrate. And the open school movement went its way. Today, the learner-centered education that is more and more the focus of curricular models really is coming out of what we know from brain-based learning. Perhaps you've been exposed to that in your course in methods of teaching. We get to talk about it a little bit in this course as we get into some of the curricular models. But we know a lot more now about how people learn best than we've ever known. We can take images of the brain while people are actually thinking and see where the thinking happens in the brain and what happens when there's emotional stimulus or other kind of things added to the mix. And so learner-centered education, thinking about how do people learn best as opposed to how do teachers teach best, is really the focus. And the focus is also moved to outcomes assessment. What it is you want a learner to know, do, feel, say, become, and how you're going to get them there, and how you're going to know that they're there, and then working backwards. So all of these pieces that we're sort of building, these little bricks of theoretical knowledge, are really important for your understanding later and your critique of the several models that we will give you in curricular practice and theory. I've been involved in my life in many educational curriculum activities. The one that's still going on at JTS in the Melton Center is Project EDGAR, where we took a kind of transmission approach where the United Synagogue of Jewish Education, the United Synagogue of America is the Department of Jewish Education, the United Synagogue of Conservative Judaism, took from the field everybody's best guess in terms of what are the minimal literate standards. What are the things that kids in a religious school, in a synagogue school, ought to know by the time they let's say, get through Hay class or above class. And though that list then turned into Project Edgar, which applied the format model, which is a very learner-centered model, which looks at different learner types and structures all kinds of activities that deal with multiple intelligences, and turned that transmission list into a very much of a process and product approach, with a lot of praxis involved, in the sense of, yes, we want kids to come out thinking Jewishly and applying Jewish values and Jewish ideas to the real world. So you see how all these things can flow together. It's not one or the other. If you go on the Melton Research Center's website, I think it's under the Davidson School, take a look at the standards and benchmarks for Tanakh, list of standards and benchmarks that we developed with a grant from the Avichai Foundation. Is now really changing how day school teachers teach Bible. What is it you want children who go through 12 years of a day school to be able to know, say, feel, understand about Tanakh? There are 8 major areas, and then under that are benchmarks from kindergarten through 12th grade. How will you get a person at the end of the day to reach that final area? So that's very much about transmission in terms of wanting to create literate Jews, but the way you do it, the how you structure it, the experiences that a learner has along the way are much broader than simply dumping these transmitted ideas of text into a learner's head. So this is very complex material. For February 15th, you have a reaction paper due, response paper due, and you have the directions online. And one of the big things you have to do this week is to apply these 10 principles to the Davidson School curriculum. So we're going to ask you to go on the web, look at the Davidson School program. I know I was the dean for about 5 years, and now I've been away for about 4 years. So I'm partly responsible for what you've inherited, and I'm sure that things have changed since I've been there. But it'll be fascinating to see your take as budding curricular specialists on the curriculum of your own school, and we'll look to see what kind of recommendations you make and concerns you have, because I'm sure the faculty can learn a thing or two from our wonderful students. So I hope this week will be stimulating for you. There are 2 major readings, and it shouldn't take you too long to get through them. They're pretty straightforward, and then begin to work through the materials online on the course. Most of your posting will be this one big exercise about applying these 10 principles to the Davidson School program. So again, I look forward to working with you, and feel free to email me if you have a personal question or problem, or want something addressed by me for the whole class. And have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.